Hey everyone, it's Jensen again here for more sports talk. Um, let's see, we had an exciting week of college football this past week. Less exciting that USC wasn't playing, but they'll make up that game. That game's going to be played at 8 o'clock Pacific time on the 5th or 4th of December, whatever that Saturday is. The first Saturday of December. So late night for USC. Anyways, some of the big stuff that happened that was exciting. The Baylor Oklahoma game I thought was brilliant. That was some good stuff. Good for Baylor. Again, it's becoming popular now, but Dave Aranda becoming a name for her potential for USC. Here's a good thing. Sorry, I'll get back to what was going on last week. But a good thing in USC's new athletic department is that the leaks have sort of stopped coming. In the previous one, I mean, I could go on any site and read like everything that was happening, and I haven't seen anyone that has any idea what they are planning, and so I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, at some point, who USC is going to hire. I would hope that they do it sooner rather than later here. What with the new moved up recruiting deadline, which is just absurd. But anyways, Baylor did a good job. One note on this game that I start talking about, what's his name? The Oklahoma coach, Lincoln Riley. Yeah, I think that's him. He was getting all hot and bothered because, Baylor, kicked a field goal at the end. Well, he was also bothered that their fans rushed onto the field a little bit early. But the only people that they can blame for that is the Big 12. Whenever you have how many points you've scored as a tiebreaker in your thing, then you're going to have to deal with people trying to run up the score. And I don't fault teams for trying to run up the score if there's a tiebreaker situation that can be in play for that. So, whatever. And it's not like Oklahoma hasn't run up the score on so many teams as often as they could. So there's that. There's Kansas beating Texas. Holy cow. I'm not a believer in Sarkisian. I don't think he was great at Washington. I mean, he was better than like Tyrone Willingham, but that's not hard to do. And he wasn't good at USC. You could always count on him to have, some good plays in the beginning of games, like on the scripted stuff, and then there'd be like nothing the rest. No adjustments, no, I don't know. There's something about Sarkisian that I wasn't impressed with, and apparently his time with Nick Saban hasn't rubbed off. I do think it's too early to completely, say that he's going to be a failure at Texas. Give him a couple of years. If you're going to hire someone, give him a couple years to do that. Yeah, but I don't believe he will get it turned around. I don't think he's an elite coach. Whereas I think Lane Kiffin is showing that he is and has become a much better coach. And I think part of the reason why Lane Kiffin did is after he went to Alabama as their offensive coordinator position, he went over and took the small school. What was it, Florida Gulf Coast or something like that? I don't know. Anyways, he took the small school and did well with them, and I think that helps. Like, throwing Sark back into the giant, the giant expectations of Texas football. I don't know if that's good to develop your head coaching ability. What is his head coaching ability? Washington, USC, and now Texas. But we'll see if they get it turned around. I am happy for Kansas. That's that's good for them. Penn State continues to lose. They can't beat anyone good, which means that you should cross off James Franklin if you're USC. He should not be the head coach at USC. Other big games, Georgia looks very impressive against Tennessee. Alabama, they were down 3-0 to New Mexico State and then ended up beating them like 59-3. But what else happened? Oregon beat Wazoo, so it's gonna be Oregon, Utah. That'll be the big game this weekend in the Pac-12 out here in the West. It's Oregon at Utah. Let's see what happens. They'll be meeting up again in a few weeks in the championship game. So we'll see what happens. I've been doubting Utah this entire time, and then they weren't looking good, and they just, I don't know, they they weren't looking good against Arizona, and then they beat them comfortably. So Kyle Whittingham, he's a good coach. I will give him that, as much as I want Utah to lose most of their games. But, oh well. What else? What other big games were going on? Ohio State beat Purdue, unfortunately. I was really hoping Purdue could pull off another upset, but 2 in one season, that's probably the limit there. Anyways, that was that was the main big thing. So I'll talk a little bit more. I'll give you my rankings really fast. The playoff committee came out with theirs, and once again proving that they're incompetent. They have no faith build up in any of the fans because of things like Michigan being ranked ahead of Michigan State, even though Michigan State has beaten Michigan and they have the same records. And then they say, well, we think Michigan's better though. What? It makes zero sense whatsoever. Now, if you want to rank Oklahoma ahead of Baylor still, I'm okay with that. Oklahoma's only got 1 loss. Baylor's got 2 losses. You can say, overall, Oklahoma, even though they lost to Baylor, still might be deserving to be ranked ahead of Baylor. But Michigan State, you lose all confidence in the committee when they pull that stuff. It's just a joke. And yeah, they're not even in a spot in the top 4 or anything right now. But when you do that stuff, it just erodes confidence. Anyways, here's my top 15. I've got Georgia. I've got Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, I will say, is going to fall down. If they end up slipping up and losing, they haven't looked great. So they're up there because they're undefeated. That's the only reason. We've got UTSA as number 3. Again, they're up there because they're undefeated, not because they're one of the top 4 best teams, but, whatever. They've won all their games. They weren't all that impressive in the last game, but they won. Then we've got Alabama at 4, rounding up. Number 5, I've got Oregon. Number 6, Ohio State. Number 7, Michigan State, ahead of number 8, Michigan. Number 9, I've got Oklahoma State, and 10, I've got Oklahoma. I haven't believed in Oklahoma, and I think Baylor, showed us that they weren't worthy of it, but they were undefeated up until that point. Number 11, I've got Notre Dame. Notre Dame's another team. I don't think they're actually great, but they've only got the 1 loss to Cincinnati, so you got to put them up there. 12, I've got Wake Forest. 13, I've got Baylor. I'm really impressed with them in the last game, and they've got the win against BYU too. Number 14, I've got Mississippi. They looked good finishing up their game last Saturday. I'm trying to mind blank who it was against. It was Texas A&M. That's who it was. So yeah, they put it on them in the 4th quarter. It was close until then, and then they blew it out. And then number 15, I've got BYU. So that's what I think the ranking should be. Again, do I think Cincinnati or UTSA right now is the top 4 teams in the country? No, but I think they've earned the spot to be there right now. anyways, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on about the rankings. We'll stop that though. So we'll go more head coaching. So we've got more jobs opened up here in Washington. Jimmy Lake's fired for Washington, and so we've got Washington out, Washington State out, USC's out of a head coach. Yeah. I don't think the little push whatever that Jimmy Lake did was merited firing. And to be fair to Washington, they said that's not the reason why they fired him. I guess there was multiple reasons. He didn't get much of a shake, but apparently they didn't want it to fall down into the Tyrone Willingham era again. So I don't fault them for that. If they've seen enough, go for it. It's rough for him, and he'll probably go and be an assistant at Alabama and then be successful somewhere else. Whatever. What else have we got going? So those are the big openings out west. The other openings, Virginia Tech just fired their head coach, so there's a decent opening. And I'm drawing a mind blank. Several openings. Texas Tech has already been filled. So, so far the biggest one. Oh, and LSU. That's the other big one. So I don't know what these schools are doing, what they're racing for, but with recruiting, you've got to get your coach in sooner rather than later. That's I'm ready for USC, like I said earlier, to make that hire and make it official if they can. The only reason why you couldn't is if you're hiring a head coach that's finishing the season, I guess. But if you're, I would see if I couldn't hire someone and let them finish the season anyways. I don't know. It's recruiting. And granted, getting the right coach is more important than one recruiting class, but it's nice to have both. Other hot coaches around the area. So I've been talking about Baylor, Dave Aranda. He's been popular. There's BYU. I can't ever say his name. Whatever his name is. BYU's head coach. Not even going to try. I wouldn't go with him. If I were Washington, I might try and get him like on that state or Washington State. That would probably be a good get. What else is going on? In the world of hockey, we like our hockey. The Ducks are on a 7-game win streak. They're playing a tough team tonight, though, playing the Washington Capitals. So I think it was Washington Capitals, I believe so. Anyways, they're on a 7-game win streak. Troy Terry is very good, and he's on a 14-game point streak. So that's good for 4th all time in the Ducks franchise. And Ryan Getzlaf, 1 point away from 1,000 points for a career. So hopefully they get that tonight and continue the good streak along. Other things going on in the NHL. Connor McDavid is still ridiculously good. Some of the stuff he does night in and night out are ridiculous. So if you want to watch an all-time great hockey player, tune in the Edmonton Oilers. U.S. beat Mexico 2-0. That was great. Followed by a 1-1 draw against Jamaica. Not so great. They're inconsistent. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It was an earlier game, so I didn't catch much of it. But what else? So hopefully they bounce back. We've got European Championships. There's a whole bunch of teams going into the second place qualifying, including Portugal and Italy. They're going to have to go in through the second place. Sweden's in there too, so it could be quite interesting to see how those teams draw and who has to beat who to get to qualify for the World Cup this next year. I've got nothing. I mean, NFL is the NFL. Although I will say I do like the Manning broadcast. If you're watching Monday Night Football, I think listening to the two of them is awesome. And they should do more stuff like that. That's often more interesting if you know the football game to hear their perspectives and stuff. Anyways, that's all for me. Have it so good. Bye.